So what we're going to do is we're going to go on a behind the scenes of our sea turtle hospital. This is an operating hospital. You might see a lot of things going on. We're kind of in the background. We also are open to the public. So the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center is a nonprofit hospital for sick and injured and stranded sea turtles. We have a threefold mission. We rescue and rehabilitate and release stranded sea turtles, and most of them come from North Carolina. The bulk of them come from southern North Carolina, but we do occasionally get sea turtles that strand from other states. For example, this winter we had 5 loggerhead turtles that stranded in Massachusetts, suffering from cold stunning, which is a severe form of hypothermia. So we were able to successfully rehabilitate and release them. And Snooky, our biggest patient on site, who you will get to see a glimpse of, actually stranded in New Jersey a number of years ago. So we will help turtles from wherever they are, and we're excited to do what we can. The second part of our mission is education. We do a lot of education programs for local schools, community groups, and we also have an educational component that involves hands-on experiential training. We've got an internship program, and where you will see some of our interns working today. We've got interns this summer from all across the country, and they're here for 12 weeks to help in every aspect of the running of our sea turtle hospital. So they help with the daily water care, they learn about our life support system and our filtration system and manage that. They help with the medical care of our patients, and they also help with our tours and educational programs. So it's a really great experience, and if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'm encouraging you to apply. Then the third part of our mission is conservation, and we do that both through our education programs, but also through our Sea Turtle Beach Patrol. So this time of year, we are monitoring all the beaches on Topsail Island, and all 26 miles, we have a volunteer every single day of the summer, every single day of the week, and every single mile, looking at the crack of dawn out there, looking for tracks from female sea turtles that come overnight to lay their eggs. And it's a fabulous effort. And all across the state of North Carolina, all across coastal North Carolina, the same thing is happening. There are these wonderful volunteer groups who are looking to document and protect the nests of these beautiful turtles. If the nests are below the high tide line or in danger from human activity, we'll move the nests very, very, very carefully. And then we also protect them with fencing, and so that people and animals don't get to the eggs. And right about now, starting next week, the first of our nests are going to hatch. So we will be there monitoring the nest for hatching and protecting those little baby hatchlings as they race to the water. So there are a lot of things that you can do to help conserve sea turtles. We'll talk about a lot of them as we go through our behind the scenes tour. But one is, when you go and visit the beach this summer, if you are in North Carolina or anywhere else where sea turtles are nesting, enjoy your day at the beach. But first of all, pick up all the trash, take it home with you, dispose of it responsibly, recycle what you can. Trash in the ocean is not good for turtles or people. Uh, Fill in your holes. It's fun to dig a big hole when you're out there on the beach, but it also can cause danger to that mama sea turtle coming up at night and trying to find a safe place to lay her nest. We do have sea turtles that fall in some of these big holes, and they can get injured, and it can cause them not to lay their nests. We also have people and first responders that can dig into the nests. And then if you are staying or if you live in an oceanside house, please turn off the beachside lights at night. We don't want to we don't want to attract any of those baby turtle hatchlings over to the street where they can get injured. So those are 3 really easy things that you can do. And if you live farther away, anything that you can do to help keep plastic out of our oceans, recycle, reduce your use of single-use plastic. This is Plastic Free July, so I was especially excited that my friends at Cape Fear Museum asked me to talk today, because it's just a great way to highlight how plastic can be very dangerous for turtles and people alike. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get us going into our behind the scenes. So we are going to go initially into some rooms of our hospital that are not on our public tour. I did mention that we are open now to the public. Um, so this is our surgery room. And we sometimes do procedures. That's not a real turtle. That is a rubber turtle, but I wanted to give you a sense of scale. We have an ultrasound machine that can be very helpful in determining what different masses inside a turtle's body. We used it recently to look at a turtle called Ricky, who is having some issues in his digestive tract. We have an anesthesia machine and other equipment that helps us monitor and do procedures for the animals. So this is our x-ray room, our surgery room. Next, we are going to go into our x-ray room. And I will try not to trip as I roll the cart into x-rays. Radiographs or x-rays are a diagnostic modality that, a diagnostic test that help us in any number of ways with turtles. And they help us figure out if a turtle has broken bones. We have had a number of turtles, unfortunately, this summer that have been hit by boats. And it's just really devastatingly sad to see these poor injured turtles coming in and still alive with the most life-threatening injuries. An x-ray will help us determine whether or not the turtle's spine is severed, and that way we can make a decision as to whether or not the turtle would survive. And so they're really, really helpful. They were also very helpful earlier this summer. We had a lot of turtles that were hooked, and that is accidentally. It can happen sometimes when people are fishing off the coast or off the piers. Often this summer it was the Kemp's ridley turtles, and they would grab onto the crabs, but they also might accidentally grab onto a hook. So if you do enjoy fishing and you do accidentally sometime get a turtle, there are some things that you can do. First of all, be very careful. Don't try to pull the hook out yourself. If you're at a pier, a lot of the piers have equipment that can help you, like a dip net, to very carefully bring the turtle out of the water. Cut the line and leave 2 feet of line on that, and that will allow us to very safely remove the hook without getting it further into the turtle. And then just call the Beasley Center and we would be happy to help you out. So here is our x-ray room. This is our x-ray generator. And we do have a fake patient here on the floor. We're really lucky. Our x-ray machine is portable, which means we can roll it around the hospital. And it has this gantry, or this arm, that with small turtles, we can bring them into this room and place the turtle on the floor for an x-ray. With larger turtles like Myrtle, who you'll meet later, we can actually bring this unit tank side so that we can check out the progress of her arm, her flipper. And you'll see why when we meet Myrtle. But this is an example of a radiograph or x-ray. And this is an x-ray from a turtle called Lucille. And I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I'm trying to get closer here, but there was a hook in Lucille, and the radiograph helped us determine where the hook was, confirm that she had indeed swallowed a hook, and allow us to figure out the best method for removing the hook. And I'm pleased to say that our veterinarian was able to safely remove this hook, and we were able to release her shortly after the hook removal. So the x-ray is a really important diagnostic tool that we use. I will say our x-ray is on its last leg, so we are having a campaign right now to replace our x-ray unit. You can find out more information on our website at seaturtlehospital.org. Kind of the next station I want to introduce you to is our weights and measurement station. And this is where once a week, every turtle in our hospital gets weighed or measured. We have a platform scale, and the turtles are placed onto the scale so that we can weigh them, which is a really important way to monitor and see how they're doing. For example, we generally want the turtles to continue gaining weight because most of our turtles are young and we would like them to learn to grow and become strong so they can be released back out into the wild. We also have these measuring tools. These are called calipers, and it is a way for us to measure the turtle's length, the straight carapace length on a turtle, and again, measure the growth. So these are just some of the tools that we use in measuring and monitoring and assessing the turtles as they come through our hospital. But enough of that. I'm sure you are here to see some real turtles. And so the first room that we're going to be going into is our sea turtle sick bay. Now, this is a room where we have our sicker patients, and it allows us to give more in-depth care to the different patients that we take care of. The Sea Turtle Hospital, generally we have 3 different species of sea turtles. We take care of loggerhead turtles, which are commonly found in North Carolina. We take care of green sea turtles, and which are called green turtles, not because they're green on the outside, but because they're green on the inside. Their fat is actually green because adult green turtles are herbivores, meaning they exist on a diet of plants. They eat seagrass, and that is one way that these turtles act as keystone species in our ocean. They help to turtles grazing on seagrass beds actually helps to make these important habitats healthier for all the little fish that use them. We also take care of Kemp's ridley turtles, which is the most endangered sea turtle in the world and the smallest of the sea turtles. Now, most of the turtles you're going to see today are juvenile turtles, but there are a couple of exceptions. You'll see some older turtles, and we'll talk about the different ways that you can tell sea turtles apart. This now is our room, our sea turtle sick bay. So this is our washing and examination station. So occasionally we do give our turtles a bath so that they can keep them clean, and a betadine scrub so that we can kill the germs that might be causing infection. This is the first turtle that I will introduce you to. This is Ricky, and Ricky is a juvenile green turtle. He's also the sickest turtle and the most critical turtle that we have right now. Now, Ricky is in a crate because he just had surgery. He just had a laparoscopic surgery. He has some issues with his digestive tract in that food and bowel movements and waste products are getting stuck somewhere in his digestive tract and are not being eliminated from his body. So unfortunately, we have tried a number of different procedures. We just did some laparoscopy to try to determine what is going wrong with Ricky. We weren't able to find anything obvious. There was nothing as possibly simple as a plastic in his digestive tract. So we're going to continue with some medical management of Ricky. And in the meantime, he is on a padded wet towel and padding in order to rest in between while he heals from his surgery. So Ricky is getting daily medication, including fluids and pain meds to manage while we are waiting for him to heal. The next turtle that I want to introduce you to is Addison. And Addison is a Kemp's Ridley turtle. You can see some scraps of squid in her tank. And I'm pleased to say, I just was informed by our volunteers that she has started eating squid heads today, which is great. That's kind of a major progress step in the rehabilitation of our turtles. Addison is a juvenile Kemp's Ridley turtle, and she was stranded near Wilmington, and she was found floating in a river. And unfortunately, she's suffering from a buoyancy syndrome. This can happen for a number of different reasons and different medical conditions that can cause Addison and turtles like her to be positively buoyant. And it might not be obvious since she's just in a small amount of water to make her feel comfortable and still have some water. But we have a cloth on her back because she's not able to dive. We actually our veterinarian did a procedure last week with Addison to try to remove some of the air from her coelom, the inside of her body cavity. And unfortunately, it filled right back up. Now, he suspects, based on some of the diagnostic clues from blood work and radiographs and his experience, that she may have some tears in her lungs, causing her body cavity to fill with air. And that's because it refilled so quickly after he removed the air. That's what he suspects. These can heal just fine. It just takes time and caring and daily attention. And that's what we can give them here at the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Center. But this is little Addison. Now you might notice the Kemp's Ridley turtle in general is a smaller sea turtle. It's darker in colored and it's more rounded than the green turtle. It has almost a round carapace or top shell. I saw that there was a question in the chat, and we'll end in time to address the different questions. But I think the question that I saw was about Ricky. His surgery was just on Tuesday, and we took him up to the CMAS, the Center for Marine and Science and Technology, up in Morehead City, where our veterinarian, who is also a veterinarian with the North Carolina State College Vet School, was able to work with a couple other veterinarians, a resident from the vet school and also the veterinarian from the North Carolina aquariums in order for the surgery. And the first part of the surgery involved a laparoscopic procedure where we put a laparoscope into a small incision in order to try to examine the bowels through a camera and the intestines. That unfortunately we couldn't see much. So then they did do a little bit wider of a cut so that they could get in there and do exploratory surgery. And we found a small narrowing of the intestine called a stricture, but it wasn't enough to explain why he hasn't been able to pass material through his intestines. And we also found some fibrous lumps, perhaps from something he ate, but those also were not causing any blockage. So unfortunately, as is the case with a lot of veterinary medicine, we couldn't come up with any answers, but we can at least rest assured that we did everything that we possibly could for Ricky, and now we'll continue with some medicine and healing and then tube feeding as soon as he's better. All right. So that is Addison. And we've got one more turtle in this room. And in this room, we also have our therapy pool. So our therapy pool, I think that's Belle in the therapy pool. And here you can see an example of a healthier green turtle. Green turtles have tremendously beautiful shells. They have more of an elongated shape, and you can see her head is much narrower than the head of the Kemp's Ridley and also the loggerhead that you'll see later. And this is Belle, and I say he or she, honestly, for most of our animals, we do not know if they are males or females, because with younger turtles, there aren't any obvious external characteristics that can tell you if they're a male or a female. By the time a turtle is a subadult or an adult, you can tell because sea turtle males will have a longer tail that extends beyond their rear flippers, and sea turtle females will have a shorter tail that barely is mostly underneath the carapace or the shell. And I'll show you an example when we go into Turtle Bay. Belle is a turtle who has been here for over a year now. She stranded last winter, in winter of 2020, and she was suffering from cold stunning, which is a severe form of hypothermia that turtles get when they're in water that's too cold for them. We see this every year in North Carolina. Sometimes it's with turtles that, for whatever reason, don't swim south for the winter, or they kind of come up in our bays and estuaries and wind up staying too long and they get cold stunned. Um, Sometimes there are some medical conditions. So usually when they come in, they're emaciated, they are comatose, their heart rate is so slow you can barely detect it, their respiration rate is very slow, and they're really in critical condition. As they start to get to be healthier, then often we can release them, but sometimes they develop secondary medical conditions, and that is a result of the cold stunning. And in the case of Belle, she developed something, a bone infection in her flipper, and this is called osteolytic lesions. And it's something that happens because when she was cold stunned, the blood supply was cut off to at her joints, and so it caused an erosion of the joints. And it is something that they can heal from. It just takes a lot of time. So right now, Bella's on 2 different antibiotics, and then she gets daily swims in this therapy pool. So the turtles are in different sizes of pools depending on their shape and their medical conditions. And then because we don't have a lot of big pools here, we do have the turtles. We do have this larger pool that we call our therapy pool that has a little bit of a water current that turtles can exercise in. So there are several turtles that do need that sort of exercise. So we're going to move on. Belle's decided that well, maybe she'll come up and see you at this point, but we're going to move into our turtle bay. So I will mention, you might see some people in the windows or along the railings. We are open for tours now. You do need to buy your tickets in advance online, and we are still requiring masks here at the Turtle Hospital. So let's bring you in here. We have a number of turtles that I will introduce you to. This is Brooks. And Brooks is a green turtle, a little bit larger, but still a juvenile. He came in completely emaciated and comatose. You can see the scars on his carapace. He had so many barnacles on him that it was really debilitating. And barnacles are a parasite. Usually they don't hurt too much, but if there are too many barnacles, you know, the occasional barnacle here and there is not going to hurt a turtle, but sometimes they have so many barnacles that it can really damage and compromise the shell. That's not why he's stranded, but because he was debilitated and sick, it allowed more barnacles to grow on him, which sort of was became a self-fulfilling because he just kept getting sicker and sicker. Now, as you can see from Brooks, he is now doing remarkably well. Over time, in order to remove the barnacles, we will wait for a while. We don't want to remove them too early because that can also damage the shell. But then we can just real gradually remove the barnacles. And he seems to be wanting to swim under the water. So in here, this is Maverick. And Maverick is a Kemp ridley turtle. You'll notice that Maverick is very light in color. This is just a color variation. Most Kemps are a little bit darker. But he's stranded because of cold stunning. Let me see it back on camera. And he seems to be a little bit scared by the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and step away from Maverick as we pan out and you can see our sea turtle hospital. So this is Seymour, a green turtle. I'm going to keep moving on so that we can stay away from the public tour. This is Lenny, and Lenny is a full-time resident. She is our only permanent resident, and she is an adult female Kemp's ridley turtle. We know she's a female for a couple of reasons. One, you see she has a short tail, and two, she did lay eggs once. She stranded in 2006 from blunt force trauma, and one of the reasons why she's here, the only reason why she's here and not releasable, is because she's blind. The blunt force trauma wound up causing eye damage. Let me move on to Rosemary. Rosemary was one of the turtles we fondly call the Spice Girls. She was a cold stone turtle that stranded in January, a green turtle. Susan is another green turtle that stranded back in April, I believe, just suffering from disease and malnourishment, doing great now. In our turtle bay is where we have the turtles that are essentially pre-release. Most of them will be released back into the wild, with the exception of Lenny. And so these you will see that they are more active. I'm going to show you Canal before the public tour gets to them. Canal is not a permanent resident. We are actually looking for a long-term home for him. Canal is confirmed to be a male. We actually were able to find that out through some genetic testing because we are looking for a permanent home for him. And any aquarium considering taking him and giving him a permanent home will need to know, just for housing reasons, whether or not he's a male or a female. As you might be able to see, Canal also has a buoyancy issue. As he goes forward, you'll see his hind end is kind of elevated. He can still dive, but we do have a structure under the water so that he can rest comfortably. And many turtles in the wild will rest in a reef or under rocks, will sleep or rest as they wedge themselves underneath. So it is normal behavior for this to happen. And so we just kind of replicated that for Canal. It was especially important for him because he can't control his buoyancy. So we wanted to be able to allow him to rest. I'm going to quickly take you around to the other turtles, and then we can go back for some questions and answers. This is Kaya, and she's a Kemp's ridley turtle. Moana is a green turtle. Terry is another green turtle. And then this is Myrtle. And Myrtle is a male. You can see his long tail, and Myrtle is a loggerhead. Myrtle was hit by a boat. You might be able to see the scars across his back. We actually had braces on him. And you might see that he's not really using his right front flipper. So he has healed really well. And we are giving him physical therapy every day and continuing to manage a wound in his right flipper. So I know one of you asked what the biggest turtle we ever, sorry, I'm a little bit stuck here. What the biggest turtle we ever had was. And I don't know if she's the biggest, but I do want to introduce you to Snooky before we go back for questions. So this is Snooky. She is see if we can get far enough back for you to see her. She's an adult female loggerhead turtle. She weighs over 300 pounds. She's stranded in New Jersey. And she has some buoyancy issues as well. Snooky, unfortunately, so just for scale, this is my hand. I'm about 3 feet away from her. So she is a very large turtle. For scale, you can, you can see that she's kind of floating on top of the water. She does have some buoyancy issues. I'm gonna come back now because my camera is a little bit running out of battery, but Snooki has some buoyancy issues. We have tried a number of surgeries to try to address that, but she unfortunately is not releasable. So Snooki also is a turtle that we are looking to hopefully place in a zoo or an aquarium one day. So that was a tour of our sea turtle hospital. I'm so glad that you came, and thank you for tuning in today. I am happy to answer any questions, and I'll actually ask Barbie if she can pass along your questions to me.
Thanks, Kathy. That was a really great tour. We really appreciate you taking us around the hospital. There was a question in the Q&A, and someone asked, when was Addison found?
Addison was found in, she was recent, so it was only a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. And then this was a question from me, actually. How do you guys decide on the names for the turtles? Is it just, you just make a random selection, or is there a process?
We do, yeah, well, we do have some small themes, like the, often when when the cold stun season comes around, our founder, Jean Beasley, who started the whole hospital and the whole effort to help save turtles here with her then daughter Karen in the 70s, as far as the initial efforts. But Jean will suggest a theme, and then with the cold stuns, we wind up getting a lot of animals in at once, and so we just kind of went through this year we went through herbs and spices. So we had cumin and parsley and paprika and all sorts of fun names like that. We have a in our kitchen, which I didn't take you in because there were some people in there working, but we have a board where we have the names all up on the board behind the sink of where the animals that were released. And so it's fun to see some of the themes that it looks like we had in the past were Harry Potter, we had Whoville, so some fun little mini themes. Otherwise, we kind of let, sometimes the people who rescue her, and we get all of our turtles, well, most of them are rescued outside of Topsail Beach. If they strand on Topsail Beach, our volunteers will rescue them, but many of them strand elsewhere in the state. So we work with all the different beach patrol groups, and their wonderful volunteers will drive them up, even in the middle of the night. We had one from Bald Head Island on Sunday night that unfortunately was hit by a boat, but the interns there drove them up. We've got the Caswell Beach, Holden Beach, Sunset Ocean Isle. So all these folks will drive the turtles up to our hospital. So sometimes they have a suggested name. Sometimes we let our interns or our volunteers name the turtles. So it's kind of, it's a little haphazard at this point, but we do have a lot of fun with the names. And the names are actually really helpful from a practical perspective, because a lot of times wildlife places don't name their animals. I mean, you don't necessarily want to personalize or name something. You don't want to treat them like a pet. These are not pets. Our goal is to release them back out into the wild. But as long as, it really doesn't matter to the turtles if we call them, Shamrock or number 117, but we have each animal comes in with a field number, and that's the number that's based on who rescued or picked up the turtle. And so it has a species code, like CM for Colonia mitis, the green turtle, a 3-letter code for the initials of the person that rescued the turtle, a date code, and then a number code. So that's a pretty long number, and it's actually really, our veterinarian as well as our volunteers appreciate being able to just say, all right, it's time to go feed Brooks, instead of it's time to go feed CM-XYZ- whatever. So the names do serve a logistical purpose besides being kind of fun.
Do you track the turtles after they leave the hospital, or once they're released, they're just back out there?
We don't track the turtles. We usually don't. I mean, you can in the past. There have been studies, I believe, that we've collaborated with, where we worked with researchers who did put a satellite tag on the turtle. But those tags are expensive. The tags themselves can run, upwards of $3,000, and then you also have to pay for the data for the satellite time. And they can be a little bit invasive because despite technology, they can still be pretty heavy. So I have been involved in the past with different projects where we have placed a tag on the turtle, but we always have to weigh it against the scientific or medical need, the weight of the tag, making sure it won't impact the turtle at all, and the cost if we have the funds to do that.
And that leads me
So
into another question that somebody
yeah,
had is how you guys are funded and how you keep the hospital running.
we are funded 100% by donations from the public, and donations come to us in many different ways. We get donations just by visiting your $7 entrance fee actually helps to buy a couple of meals or a couple of doses of medication for one of our turtles. And then we've got school kids that raise money for us. We had a little girl earlier this summer who drew some beautiful artwork, and she sold it to her friends and family and community. And then she brought us a check of nearly $500, which was so wonderful. Um, People love turtles and everybody wants to help, but it is donations. We do not receive government funding. We occasionally do receive some grants and things like that, but it's really 100% donations.
Another question someone asked was about how many turtles do you normally have at one time?
At one time, the highest that we've had on site was 109, and that was before I came. I've only been here since February, but it was last year. It was one of the biggest cold stunning events that North Carolina has ever seen. And so I'm told that we had turtles in the bathrooms, on the ramp, every spare space, we had tubs of turtles in them. And it was a tremendous effort. The most we've had since I've been here, and I guess this was kind of a low normal for cold stunning, but we had about 45 turtles when I first came in February. Right now we have about 15. So there are definitely different seasons that I'm learning. There's the winter cold stun season where you do get these debilitated hypothermic animals. Right now it's the time for, unfortunately, a lot of trauma and physical injuries like boat stripes and things like that.
Another person asked, when you mark the nesting area on the beach, you write numbers on one of the markers. How do you decipher the number?
So, oh goodness, I'm still learning that myself, but the numbers, there's a code in there for the year, the date, the year and the date that the nest was laid, and something with respect to location. And so it's one way for us, and I don't know if all the groups do this the same way. There might be different codes that they use, and so it's a way for us to track basically when the nests are going to hatch.
So I see one last question. Can volunteers help to guide the baby turtles from the nest to the ocean? If so, when and where is that done? Or do you have to be trained?
Yes, so we do have an annual spring training for our beach walker volunteers, and this year we had over 300 people participate. We need a lot of volunteers in the summer, but we can't always use 300 people. But so for us, it's a once a year training process. I don't know what some of the other groups have. And our volunteers who sign up to watch and walk and patrol the beaches are the same ones that will also then we pull from that group to sit at the nests. Now, if you're aware of a nest in your area, we do. when there are people out on the beach, when we start nest sitting, as we call it, often the people who are may be staying at nearby houses or something will join us out on the beach, or people who walk the beach and see us at the nest will join us and nest sit for that particular night. So this time of year, it's really opportunistic. If there's a nest that you're aware of, just kind of watch and see when the beach patrol starts making a ramp is one of the first, sorry about the jiggliness there. One of the first things that you'll see will create a smooth pathway for the turtles so that they can get down to the water safely without encountering any hazards like holes or plastic on the beach or anything like that.
All right, well, thank you. And what's the age for volunteers? How old do they need to be?
For volunteers in our beach walker program, the primary volunteer is generally an adult, but often people will volunteer as families for that program.
Okay.
So definitely look for that. For us in the springtime this year, we had training, online training in April. I don't know again when the other groups do, but definitely in April. For our other positions right now, our hospital positions are unfortunately full. We've got a lot of people who want to volunteer in the hospital. But we do have a couple of opportunities that might be of interest. For next summer, we do, in addition to our 12-week internship program, we do have a junior internship program where high school students can come and help for 2 weeks at a time. And then we also collaborate with Sea Turtle Camp and the campers who are also getting an experience education about a lot of other natural history of Topsail Island, also come help us for a couple days a week. So our junior high is, or our junior interns are high school students. So 14, and the campers are usually about that age as well.
Okay, well, great. I think that kind of wraps up the questions, and I'll let Darcy, if you want to close us out, if you have anything else you want to add.
And just to say thank you so much. That was fascinating. And one thing that I did notice, I was at the Sea Turtle Hospital a couple months ago, and you guys were pretty full. Your sick bay had a lot. You had all the spices at the time. I remember cumin and parsley.
Yes, we did.
And peppercorn. I liked that one. Were you able to release most of those? I mean, I saw rosemary, but did they mostly get released?
Yes, we did. We were able to release most of them. I think rosemary is the only spice girl left. We just released cumin last week with Njord and Shamrock, who were two turtles that stranded because they got sucked into a dredge. And cumin, who had just took a little bit longer. Rosemary, unfortunately, has the same bone infection, that osteolysis that Belle has. Rosemary seems to be healing more quickly, though. So we're glad that Rosemary, maybe she'll be ready later on this fall. We're not sure. But we've had 3 big releases and a couple of small releases since. So we released had a couple of releases down at Sunset Beach and Ocean Isle because the water there was warmer and we had a lot of turtles, as you saw. And then at the beginning of June, we had a big release here at Surf City. But I know a lot of people wonder about coming to the release and if we can publicize the releases. Often, unfortunately, we used to publicize the release, but then the beaches got really too crowded, and it became a safety issue not only for the turtles but also for people. So it's a little bit more sporadic. It tends to be internal, but we are sharing them through Facebook Live, and so you can see them on our Facebook page.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Kathy. This was wonderful. It was so cool to be able to see all of the turtles and hear more about what you all do and the extent to which you take care of these turtles. It's really amazing. So I think that wraps us up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that wraps us up for this afternoon. So thank you everyone for attending. If you have a chance, get up to the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Center up in Topsail. And come to Cape Fear Museum and check out our H2O Today exhibit. So have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.